So today I'm going to show you some of my favorite perennials that we have in our backyard. And what's going to be really good about this video is we all had that cold stretch. We all had that serious freeze frost. We all had it. I'm going to show you the perennials in our yard that took massive damage, but they're coming back to show why I'm saying the power of perennials. Today, let's call this the plant asset. We have crypto assets, we have stocks, we have different type of asset classes. Why not have plant assets? And that's what I'm gonna show you today. Plants that are so valuable that they come back year after year. They feed you and your family year after year. You don't have to do too much. These are assets you put in the ground and they're going to pay off for you. What's up? I'm Jermaine with GrowFit Florida, and I grow food right here in beautiful West Central Florida, Zone 10A. It's hot, it's humid. The grocery stores are getting more expensive every single week. With this war going on, gas prices, they are crazy. I went to get gas the other day and it was $100 in my tank. It blew my mind. Come on. So with these prices rising, everything rising, and we know, I've made videos on this before, once it reaches a level, it's never truly going to come back down. Right when they have that price point and we're willing to pay, nothing is ever going to come rebound all the way back down. So now that new normal has just been raised up a little bit higher. And I want to show you guys how we can save some money on food in our backyard, and it's going to give us some better health. So let's get into the video. Now, first up is category number one. I'm gonna call this like the workhorses. These are the plants that do their job no matter what happens outside. They're the ones, if you got a vacation coming up and you leave for a week, you forget to set your drip irrigation, even in the summertime, you come back home, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna be just fine. These are your workhorses. Moringa. Moringa is the first plant on this list. Now look, this one we cut all the way back to a stump after that freeze, if you notice right there. This used to be a 20-foot tree right here, and now it's back to this. But we didn't do anything with this. This Moringa, it's growing in like the blink of an eye. Every time we come outside, it's getting taller. It's getting wider. We're getting more and more. I just cut this down probably a month ago, if that. And look at this. Look at all this new growth, all this beautiful Moringa that we can eat from right now. And that's what Moringa does. It grows 10 feet before you can even blink. You eat the leaves year round, and every time you cut it back down, it comes back with vengeance. It's a nutrition factory that produces nonstop in your backyard. And again, this right here, this is your multivitamin. And what did I do to actually help this plant recover? Absolutely nothing. I cut it back, watered it, and I just got out the picture. I just left it alone, and that's what I'm doing, and it is growing. Now, we still have one standing that's looking pretty good, but it ain't about that in this video. This is about plants that during that frost and that freeze that we had that took a beating, but without me doing anything, just God and water, it is coming right back. I'm not doing anything. We haven't fertilized, nothing. And that's what this video is about. So plant number one is Moringa. If Moringa was a stock, it would definitely be a growth play with the dividend. That's all I'm saying. So let's get on to plant number two. So next up is Katuk. If you live in Florida and you're still fighting lettuce in that 95-degree heat, just stop it. Katuk is a perennial green. It tastes like peas, and it thrives when everything else is just wilting. Just like Moringa, when our backyard got hit by that freeze, it took our Katuk out. We had these beautiful 6-foot shrubs, but now it's okay, it's coming back. As you can see, we have new shoots that's coming through, the old stems, and both are coming back strong. No babysitting required. Now, I cleaned them up just a little bit. I had to take down all that old wood, threw the dead branches away, or actually just use them for a little chop and drop. But this is the kind of plant that lets you eat in your yard in July when everything else in your garden is just cooked. The leaves are healthy, they taste great, and you don't have to babysit a plant like this. These are the type of plants that we want in our backyard. Some perennials that just grow without us doing anything. Just give it a little bit of water. Katuk actually prefers some shade. You don't have to put it in full sun. So if you have a backyard that doesn't get that much sun and you're looking for something that's gonna provide you some nutrients, get you some Katuk. It doesn't even need all that sun. Excellent perennial to grow. So let me walk you over to our next plant asset. Let's see what it is. Oh, look at these beautiful peaches, y'all. Peach tree is loaded with these beautiful peaches. But let's get back to our next plant asset. And here it is. And over there. And a little one over there. And a couple sticks in the ground right there. You know what this is? Now we're moving on to some fruit. Now I've got an Everbearing and a Thai. And if you don't know, the next plant asset is mulberry trees. So we have a couple in our front yard and we have some, of course, right here in our back. These produce multiple times a year with zero maintenance. Absolutely no maintenance but pruning, because they will get wild and they will get big. Ever since we moved to Central Florida from Miami, our mulberries has been the one constant that we've always knew, no matter what the weather, hot, cold, it doesn't matter what's happening outside, we're going to get mulberries. Now, again, mulberries, they don't need babysitting. You can grow these in just about every zone there is. They take the cold, they take the heat. If you want easy street gardening where you don't have to do too much, get yourself a mulberry. And the cuttings, look at this. This is just a cutting that we put in the ground about a month ago, month and a half ago. And look, it's already giving us some mulberries. And this is just took a cutting from this tree, nothing special, a little aloe, and just stuck it in the ground right there. And it's already giving us some mulberries that quick. And look, I get it. If you're a full-grown man or woman, you're not gonna be picking little mulberries and expecting that to be food. But if you have kids, your kids will love to run. They come outside and they run to that mulberry tree because they know it always has fruit on it for them. It's healthy. They love picking mulberries. All kids love picking mulberries. So again, I get it. If you're a grown man, grown woman, mulberries ain't gonna be something where you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna base my yard on putting that in there. But you can make some jams with it. People make pies with it. You can do a lot of things with it, but it's not gonna be a meal. So let's move on to category 2. These are your heavy hitters. These are the crops that are gonna give you those calories. Since I'm already over here, let's start this off with bananas. Now, we have a whole bunch of different varieties growing, from Namwa to Mona Lisa, Goldfinger, Dwarf, Cavendish, plantains, just a mix of banana plants growing throughout our entire backyard. Here's what's cool about banana plants. You see them above ground, but it's a whole plant system below. That root system underground that's the operation with these. So even when the top get knocked back, it happened for all of us. Now, you guys, remember we had these beautiful banana plants. We had some that was getting ready to flower before we had that freeze, and we had to cut them back. But the great thing about bananas, they always come back. You have bad weather, that's okay. They will come back. This is the ultimate perennial to grow. That's gonna give you 50 to 80 pounds of fruit every single time you go to get a harvest. So many different varieties. You have to find the ones that you like, that taste the best for you. You can get some store-bought varieties that taste similar to what you get in the store, or you can get some that are nothing like what you've ever eaten in the store. And if you're like me and my family, we love plantains. Why not grow your own plantain tree in your backyard where you're gonna constantly have plantains ready to go? So, and with the bananas, if you harvest them green, you're gonna get plantains. You can use them as plantains as well. So you don't even have to get a dedicated plantain tree. So there's just so many uses for bananas. I don't have to tell you guys about bananas, but they are excellent nutrition-wise. They're healthy for you. They're good for you. They're going to give you calories where you're not just eating a little bitty mulberry. A couple bananas, you're good, especially if you're somebody that like to work out. A couple bananas before you work out or in your smoothies, you can grow it from the backyard. You're going to have plenty to give to your neighbors, families, and friends. No brainer. So I'm always talking about how we can make our backyard our paradise, and we should make our backyard our paradise. It can provide food for us and it can look nice. It can look like you're at a tropical resort in your backyard, especially if you live in Florida. Bananas is a way to make that happen. I talked about the areca palms and how beautiful areca palms are, and they give you that nice look in your backyard. add some bananas with that, oh my goodness, you're talking about a tropical look in your backyard, and you're gonna get some food. So family, go out and get yourself some banana plants. Watch a few of my other videos. I'll show you how to put them in the ground, and I give you the disclaimer with banana plants, so of where you should not put banana plants. But other than that, they're beautiful to have, and you're gonna get a lot of food. So let's move on to the next one. So next up, we're gonna talk about sweet potatoes, and I'm gonna have my wife, Toni from Rooted in J's. She's gonna go over sweet potatoes with you guys.
I don't want to call favorites because you can't have a favorite child, but sweet potatoes is one of my favorites. Sweet potatoes is one of my favorites because this one, as you see, we have our sweet potatoes. All of it, what I have here are growing from my sweet potato slips that I actually got from the store. So the thing with sweet potatoes, you can, if you're trying to grow them, there's a few ways where to get them. The first one you get is from organic. So you can do the organic sweet potatoes from the store. The non-organic are sprayed with inhibitors that prevent them from sprouting right away. I definitely go the organic way. The third way, you can actually just get the sweet potato slips from your local store. And it works just as fine. But all of the ones I have grown here are from the store-bought sweet potato. And what I have done this year is absolutely nothing. The sweet potatoes that I have back here went through the frost, and I just covered them up with lots of mulch to prevent them from dying or prevent them from going through that frost that we just had last winter. And they're all popping up right now. Now, if you're starting from a store-bought sweet potato or if you want to start from a store-bought sweet potato, the best way, there's a few ways to grow and help your sweet potato sprout. The first one is you can put it in a jar and let it sit on the counter and it will sprout. So you put it in a jar of water, not all of it, shallow water, and it will sprout. The second way is my personal favorite. I put it in a shallow dish of moist or damp soil. You don't cover the whole thing and it'll start to sprout. You put it directly outside, especially here now in Florida. It's hot, they do well. So you just put it on a tray of soil, a damp tray of soil, and it will sprout. You take those slips and you put the slips in the ground and you have sweet potatoes. The other way that have worked for me also is I just threw the sweet potato in the ground. It is slower if you do that route. If you take a whole sweet potato and put it in the ground, it's gonna take some time, but it does work. Now, what I have learned through my trial and error of growing sweet potatoes is you never know when to harvest them. So sweet potatoes take about 4 months to harvest, but you can always dig around the soil to see when they're ready, and that's usually one tip. The leaves don't really tell you much. You just really got to know when you put them down and actually start your clock from that time. So these, as I mentioned, they were buried during the cold and they're all coming back. They're very low maintenance. You can use them as ground cover. I actually prefer to grow them in pots or in raised beds because Florida soil has these invisible bugs that will eat right through your sweet potatoes. And when you harvest them, especially if you harvest them too late, you'll see holes in your sweet potatoes. And it's very disappointing. So my way to combat that or to avoid that is I put them in raised beds, and you can add some marigolds throughout that actually help prevent the bugs or help attract the good bugs like ladybugs to your sweet potatoes. And so I have marigolds in here. I usually try to put garlic in here. I don't think it's going to do well at this time of year, but I try to do companion planting. They do well, as I mentioned, as ground cover and suppressing weeds. I can go on and on about sweet potatoes. They're a great perennial plant. As I just mentioned, I didn't plant these this season and they're already coming back. If you don't have sweet potatoes, this is a great time to put them in the ground because especially if you want your sweet potato pie. I ain't gonna get into sweet potato pie for the holidays. This is a good time to get your sweet potatoes in. That's it.
So if you want to know more about sweet potatoes, head over to my Patreon. My wife is going to do a full breakdown of sweet potatoes, everything you need to know. Just head over to Patreon.
I also want to add, I have updated my book. If you haven't seen it, this is the 50 plus plants that won't let you down, that thrives in Florida. And I cover sweet potatoes. That is actually chapter 48. Go over everything you need to know about sweet potatoes, how to grow it, how to make sure it feeds your family, because that is why we're growing, right?
That is.
Grab your copy wherever you buy your books.
So next up, I think is probably my wife's and I's favorite plant that we grow, our favorite crop that we're growing in our backyard is cassava. And the reason why it's our favorite is because it gives you the most food out of just about anything that you can grow in your backyard. It's the easiest to grow. It requires almost no effort whatsoever to grow cassava. It's delicious. Those yucca fry. Look, you know what? Let me go get my wife so she can see. I'm gonna see if she can talk about cassava for you guys, because this is just an excellent plant to grow. Let me go get my wife.
Now, I know I said sweet potatoes was my favorite. You can have multiple favorites, and cassava is definitely one that we don't talk about that needs to be all over the internet. It is so low maintenance. It loves our sandy soil. It requires zero to no effort from you. So how to plant it? I would just say this. I got this from my dad. That was how I was introduced to planting it. In a Haitian household, we grew up eating this. So think about a dense potato. You can eat it with any side dish. You can make it a main dish. My favorite way to eat it is fried, but cassava can be used as cassava flour as well. So you can bake with it, especially if you have issues with gluten. So it is awesome plant. It is well-rounded. It is needed in any Florida yard. My dad introduced me with how to plant it. He gave me a cassava cutting. So it was about 6 inches long. And he told me to stick it in the ground, and that is it. And that's what I did. So last season we grew cassava, and we used those when we harvest it, we cut it and we basically planted more. It keeps giving you every year. So each year you grow, you're going to constantly have more plants every year. It takes about 8 to 10 months, sometimes longer. The best part about it is you don't have to harvest it until you're ready. It will just sit in the ground and leave you alone. I have one in the garden right now that we had to cut down because of the cold, and it is coming back like nothing happened. That is one spot that I actually don't water. It really, once it's established, it's going to do its own thing. It is very low maintenance. So how to plant it? You basically stick it in the ground. You can put it in the ground diagonally, vertically, or horizontally. So I'm testing out both, because what I heard is if you stick it straight up and down, it's not going to be as big. Even though we had a huge one last season, it could get even bigger. So you want to make sure you give it the right spacing. I'm still pushing my limits here, because you need about 3 to 6 feet from each other on all sides. And I'm sure I don't have that here. But again, I like to push my limits and see what happens. So if you want to grow them in pots, you just want a large pot, because again, they need a lot of room. So about gallon, 15, 20 gallon may give you a decent size. Now you can eat the leaves if cooked. So the same with the cassava itself. Because it contains a compound cyanide, you want to make sure you cook it. So the way that you do, once you harvest, it is not one that's going to sit on your shelf or looking pretty. You have to cook it right away. So 1 to 2 days max. So when you cook it, cook it like a potato. You need to put the fork in, and once it comes out, it's ready. So that is how you cook it. And you can store it by freezing it as well. So it does. I have some that we're still eating from. My favorite way to cook it is garlic, like treat it like a garlic mash. Delicious. The second way is fried cassava fries. If you have French fries and you're like, oh, take that out your mind. Fresh fried cassava fries is delicious. You will bite into it and say, what have I been missing my entire life? So I can go on and on about cassava, but if you want the full video, I'll be sharing that on my channel, Rooted in Jays. So make sure you catch that video. It's coming out soon. It is just so much you can say that I can't cover in just 1 to 2 minutes. This is one plant that, if anything my husband said that you should grow, listen to me. This one is one. Yes. It's very filling. It's very beautiful. If you want a fast growing, especially if you went through the cold and you lost a lot of your trees and you're trying to fill up space, this one will do it so nicely, because look how beautiful these leaves are. And it grows pretty tall, so it works as a great shaded plant. And what I like to put underneath it are peanuts and other things that can do well with the shade. So again, I have the full video on Rooted in Jays. All right, that's it. I'm gone.
So here's the bigger picture. Every plant that I showed you today is a perennial. You put it in the ground once and it's just gonna keep producing for you. Some of them even for decades. So while the person down the street is at the garden center every single March, spending money, starting from zero, your garden is already starting to come back to life. It's working for you. Takes discipline to ignore the displays you see and all the many different seed packages that you possibly can plant and grow. Not saying don't do it. Get those too. More food, the better, if you got the space. But I'm showing you what can work in Florida without you having to do anything. Things that you can just put in the ground and it's going to grow for you. It's going to change the way that you visit the grocery store. So you can stop being a consumer and you can start being a producer. And that shift in that mindset is what this channel is about. Now, those are just a few of the many perennials that you can put in the ground and you can start getting your garden established with these. Yes, there's so many more. I know we grow so many more. I can't mention them all on one video. So I get it. There's so many more. That's just a few to get you started. And if you want to learn more about these perennials, get yourself a copy of my book, The Florida Perennial Garden. And I share everything there is to know about Florida or just southern perennials that you can grow in your backyard. In this book, I have pictures of all the perennials that we're growing in our backyard, and I'm talking about it and my experience with them, how to grow them, how to harvest them. And it's just, this is for us to be able to have some easy, quick wins in our backyard, because gardening does not have to be that difficult. There's no such thing as a sweatless solution. So even with these perennials, you're gonna have to water when we have droughts. You're gonna have to prune so it doesn't get out of hand and it gets too big. You're gonna have to do those things. With some, you're also gonna have to have some type of pest control ready. That's coming outside, flicking off those little bugs, using some neem oil. So there's no such thing as a sweatless solution in gardening, but if there's anything that you could put in your backyard that's the closest thing to it, it's just planting perennials. Things is gonna work with you and you're not gonna have to babysit. So I hope this video helped. Again, there's so many more you can plant. A copy of the book and you can get those perennials and all that in here. So thank you guys for watching. And until that next video, God bless.